without further ado, let's get into it, man. This is my top 8 zombie movie list.
I'm not going back out there. That's not part of the plan.
Change your plan. I'm gonna open the door.
No.
Okay. 1, 2,
Don't do it, man.
3.
Come on, man.
Thanks.
Shoot him in the head! I don't see anybody.
Get back inside! They're fine!
Get back inside!
Here you go!
No, 6 more people inside the truck! Andres,
All right, y'all. So moving on to number 4 on my list is, like I said, it's my big 3 as far as my introduction into the zombie culture. So, like I said, it's definitely something that's near and dear to my heart as far as my favorite zombie movies. So, along with Resident Evil and 28 Days Later, the number 4 on my list is none other than Dawn of the Dead. So Dawn of the Dead released in 2004, and the director is none other than Zack Snyder himself. He is a powerhouse director. We all know this, especially with the work he's done with the DC Universe. He really makes some good zombie movies as well. Army of Thieves is one of his more recent zombie movies that he dropped, and that movie is freaking with Dave Bautista or whatnot. He's one of the best wrestler actors that's came out in, in the past history of wrestlers coming out and taking on the acting, going in the acting route. So, yeah, I definitely feel like Zack Snyder has a penchant for eyeballing talent and putting them in his movies and telling a really great story. Now, this movie is kind of, I want to say it's an ensemble cast. There's definitely some recognizable figures in this movie. Obviously, Sarah Polley, Mekhi Phifer, Ving Rhames, Jake Weber, and Ty Burrell. Those are just, a handful of names that people might be able to recognize just off of first glancing at this movie. But yeah, like I said, man, this movie, the story is pretty much survivors that are pretty much holed up in the mall, and they're pretty much trying to figure out whether they should stay there or whether they should kind of, try their luck and just, migrating and moving on. So all of these characters kind of have their own story. One of my favorite characters in the movie, obviously, is Ving Rhames. He's like the police officer or police sheriff or something like that, and he's looking for his brother. So, he's kind of like the lone wolf of the group or whatnot. He doesn't really care about being there and helping out with the group. He's just kind of, he's kind of, I don't want to say he's kind of selfish to where he's out for himself, but he's definitely a character to where, like, he's going to do his own thing and, pretty much get the hell out of his way. So I definitely feel like they had very good character dynamics, and it was one of the best movies written because every single character development and character plot in the movie, it pretty much comes together as all of these survivors being locked in this mall and, trying to make their way out and basically try to bide their time and, make the best use of their time as they can. So I feel like all of the characters, Mekhi Phifer was a really great character. He comes in with his wife and she's pregnant. They're about to get ready to have a baby. So it's just all of the, you really feel the debacle in this movie. You feel like every character has just went through hell and high waters just to get to where they're at. So, you definitely connect and resonate with a lot of these characters or whatnot. So I definitely feel like this is a movie that, it kind of blends the action with the great writing, with the great character development. It kind of rolls, it's kind of like Zombieland. It rolls everything up into one big, great, beautiful zombie movie, in my opinion. And definitely is one of those movies to where it definitely kind of follows the end of like the kind of cliffhanger ending to where you don't really know what's going to happen to the survivors at the end of the movie. I definitely feel like it's one of those things to where it's kind of like, it's one of those things to where you definitely have to go on. You're definitely, if you've never watched the movie before, you'll definitely have to go on Reddit to kind of see like, what do you think happened? And, everybody kind of leaves. He left the ending kind of open-ended and kind of off a cliffhanger to where we can kind of, develop and pretty much speculate what we think happened to the group of survivors at the end of the movie. So, yeah, I definitely feel like it's something that probably should have got a sequel. It should have gotten a sequel, in my opinion. I would have definitely loved to see that, but like I said, it's a great movie as a standalone. So if he didn't expound on that, then there's really no need to. It's kind of one of those things to where hey, he kind of told their story, and we moving on. I definitely think that in my personal opinion, like it just didn't look good for the group of survivors at the end of the movie. But, like I said, man, who knows, like anything can happen with cinema or whatnot. And maybe, who knows, maybe 10, 15 years down the line, he finishes off that story and tells us what's happened. Or he'll just tell a whole new story and just kind of start it from scratch again. But either way, Dawn of the Dead is one of those movies that I definitely suggest you to watch, because like I said, you can kind of watch it. If you love zombie movies, it's a good movie to watch. If you love action, it's got that in there too. If you like drama, it's definitely got that in there too. So, you know, if you like a little comedy being mixed in too, it's got that as well. So I think it checks off all of the boxes. So I definitely think that's something that y'all should add to y'all playlist. And yeah, we'll keep this list moving on. So that is number 4 with Dawn of the Dead.
Butter. Are you okay? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that.
So moving up to number 3 on my list, this is the final one of my big 3s as far as my introduction into the zombie culture. So along with Resident Evil and Dawn of the Dead, my number 3 is 28 Days Later. Now, 28 Days Later does hold an 87% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It was released in 2003. And the director is Peter Doyle. And it is a bit of an ensemble cast. It has Cillian Murphy, Naomi Scott, and Brendan Gleeson. So those 3 are the 3 powerhouses in this movie, and obviously as well as some more recognizable figures in the movie as well. And I really think this, it's kind of like Dawn of the Dead. It kind of gives you everything that you're looking for in a zombie movie, or everything that you're really looking for in a movie in general. Like, because some of these movies, you really like, they can actually masquerade and not be classified as zombie movies and just be classified as just regular survival drama movies or whatnot. So I think this movie can also fit that bill as well, to where you don't necessarily have to consider it a zombie movie, because, you know, it's really more so about survival and getting to where you want, getting to your next destination safely. Because the more so, the evil entities in this movie aren't really zombies, they're people, you know what I'm saying? So this is one of those movies to where it definitely tells that story of survival. And, you know, the 3 major characters, they all have very diversified backgrounds and what leads them to each other. Cillian Murphy, obviously, you know, in the movie, his character wakes up in the hospital, everybody's gone, everything is pretty much gone bad, and you know, he walks away, he makes his way out of the hospital. He's the only person walking on the road. Then he finds his way into a church, and when he finds his way into the church, and then that's when you see a big horde of zombies. They start to, you know, get active and get activated, and then boom, the movie goes on from there. And then he ends up meeting up with Naomi Scott's character, and then she has a companion as well, and they end up going on they start their journey and their travels from there. So it's definitely one of those movies to where it does get you out of your seat. It does give you, you know, a few heart skips, you know, just because like it is a zombie movie at the end of the day. But like I said, it's written so well, it's written good enough to where you don't even have to think about the zombies, just, you know, just focus on the main characters and the story that they're telling. Because a lot of times when when a movie is classified as a zombie movie, the zombies are pretty much the main characters or the main factors in the movie. But every now and then, and this is why I made the list the way I did, is because some of these movies, the zombies are an afterthought. It's not really about the zombies. The zombies are just the background plot point that makes up the story, and it pushes everybody and the main characters together. So that's what the zombies were meant to do. And I feel like in this movie, because it really just gives you a sense of who is the actual enemy, you know what I'm saying? So, and even when they get to where they're getting to, they get to this military base, because that's who they end up hearing. I think they end up hearing a radio signal or whatnot. Something leads them to where something leads them to the place where the military personnel is. And then, like I said, the movie goes on, and then you realize that stuff is not always going to be how it is. And like I said, it's not necessarily the zombies that are the bad guys. It's other humans and it's other people. So like I said, this movie will definitely make you think about some stuff, and it'll definitely give you them jump scares that you're looking for. And it also gives you a good story with some very, very phenomenal acting. Some very, very phenomenal acting. Like I said, it's not an American zombie movie. It's not an American movie at all. all. And like I said, I will get to why I made that statement after I give y'all my number two for my zombie movie list, and it's coming right up next.
정신 차리게 새끼야!
Moving on to number two on my list. Number two is none other than Train to Busan. Now, this is a Korean movie, and it's a 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a 95% rated zombie movie. This is one of the best zombie movies that I've seen. Probably the only reason why it's not my number one is, well, I'll get to my number one. Obviously, we're on number two now, but my number one is in place for a reason. But this would probably be my number one had the facts not been what they are, as far as why my number one is my number one. So Train to Busan was released in 2016. Again, like I said, it's a Korean movie. It was directed by Yong Sung-ho, and it's starring Gung Ho and Don Lee. Now, they might not be as recognizable. Those names might not be recognizable, but Don Lee should be recognizable because he's been in the game for a minute. He is a cold brother. Yeah, like I said, he's not only is he a great actor, but he's also pretty big in the boxing community and in the fight game as well. And he's also trained with some pretty respectable people. So he's not one of those actors just acting and looks tough on camera. Like Don Lee is one of those guys. Like, you know, he's tough in real life, man. He's definitely one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite Asian actors as well as being one of my favorite actors, like in general. Like, I really feel like he pretty much knocks out every role, pun intended, since the boxing background. But I feel like he knocks out every role that he does, and he was really a good. I resonated with his character in this movie. So the story of this movie is that a father takes his daughter on a train to go to Busan to meet with his ex-wife or whatnot, the child's mother. So everybody else that's on the train, all of the other ensemble cast that's on the train are on the train for their own reasons, obviously. But Don Lee's character is on the train with his wife, I believe. I'm pretty sure Don Lee is on the train with his wife. His character is on the train with his wife. And you can just tell like how sweet he is with his wife, how protective he is, and obviously in the face of freaking a million zombies. And like I said, the Korean zombie culture, like as far as like the way they make their movies, those zombies are freaking super charged up and super ready to go. They're pretty much like the Zombieland, Dawn of the Dead, 28 Days Later. Those are those type of zombies, the super T-800 Terminator type zombies. So yeah, in the face of all of that, Don Lee's character, like he just really stood out to me because the way he protects his wife and the way he pretty much has to, you know, put himself in some pretty tricky, sticky situations just to kind of keep everybody safe pretty much. And this movie is pretty much just, and there's no weapons. No one has weapons in this movie, and it's just straight up. You either have to outrun them or be smarter than them pretty much. So it's definitely a situation to where you really feel like nobody's gonna make it out of this movie. Obviously, it does have somewhat of a happy ending. It really kind of brings those, it kind of tugs on your heartstrings as well, because it's the dynamic of a father trying to keep his daughter safe, and then a man trying to keep his wife safe as well, his pregnant wife safe, I believe, as well. I have to go back. It's been like a year or so since I've last seen the movie, but I believe Don Lee's wife was pregnant in this movie, so that just adds an extra layer of willpower and protective instinct to want to keep everybody safe. And like I said, man, it's one of those movies to where it does give you a lot of good action. I really think it's written phenomenally, obviously. And to get to my comment to when I said I'll get to the reason why I differentiate where these movies are released, is because, like I said, I feel like as far as making a great zombie movie, I feel like Asia and I feel like the UK and surrounding areas, I feel like they make very, very great zombie movies. And they make very, very great movies, obviously, as in general. But I feel like as far as the zombie culture, I feel like the UK, they have two of the greatest zombie movies of all time, as far as 28 Days Later, Shaun of the Dead, 28 Weeks Later. Like they really knock it out of the park as far as writing a really, really great zombie movie. Now America does this thing too as well, but like Korea, they have the horror genre down packed. I really feel like Asia knocks it out the park as far as horror culture and just making a great horror movie, because you really get a sense of like, dang, man. And the reason why they're so great for me, because a lot of times I can't even understand what they're saying, even with the subtitles and stuff. Like I still can't keep my eyes off the screen, because like I said, like they really play these characters and they really do their thing as far as how they portray and how they tell the story and how they push the plot along. So I feel like it's really no competition as far as the UK and Asia, man, as far as zombie cultures. Like I said, we make pretty good ones, but nah, man, they got the sauce as far as what they got the sauce as far as making a good movie in that regard. So, but as far as Train to Busan goes, like I said, man, it's a very great movie. It's a very great heart. I don't want to say it's heartwarming in the sense of like you get a feeling of like family and just, you know, togetherness or whatnot. It's just, I want to say it's heartwarming in the sense of what happens to the main character in the last couple of scenes. It just really kind of makes you, you know, it kind of tugs on your heartstrings a little bit. It's definitely a great movie to watch. If you haven't seen it, like I said, I definitely suggest to see it. I believe it's on Netflix, and I'm not sure. I know it's definitely on Netflix. That's where I saw it at, but I'm not sure if it's still on there. Maybe you have to do some checking and do some digging and kind of check that out. But Train to Busan is definitely my number 2. It would be my number 1 if my number 1 wasn't my number 1. So let's get to that right now.
It's all right.
Y'all, so this is the number 1 movie on my list. We are at the last one, the finish line. So my number 1 movie, my number 1 zombie movie of all time is none other than Night of the Living Dead. Now, Night of the Living Dead was released in 1968. It was directed by none other than George A. Romero, he's dubbed the father of zombie film, and this is 95% rated on Rotten Tomatoes for a reason. This movie broke so many barriers in so many different ways. Not only did it have a star-studded cast with Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dea, Carl Harmon, just to name a few, but the reason why it was so groundbreaking, because in 1968, having a black protagonist, a black main character, was definitely something that was, I don't want to say it was unheard of, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen a lot, and there was a lot of talk. I don't want to say speculation, but there was a lot of talk around why George Romero decided to cast a black person as his main character, because it just didn't happen a lot. And George Romero, he wasn't trying to make a statement. He wasn't trying to prove a point. He simply said that he gave the role to who gave the best audition. And Dwayne Jones definitely, I'm not gonna lie, he did his thing in this movie. And like I said, another barrier that it broke, like there was a scene that it's kind of funny as hell to me, but there was a scene where Judith O'Dea, her character just starts like tripping out or whatnot, and then Dwayne Jones just kind of gives it a pimp backhand. And like I I've never seen, I don't think anybody had ever seen something like that on film, just like a black man putting his hands on a white woman in the film like that. And especially him being the main character, like it's definitely something that George A. Romero definitely tried to push some boundaries on that one. And he made a very, very great film because of it, out of it. And like I said, even though it is 1968, it's an old movie, it's dated. They do have a black and white version, and they have the version that's in color. Now, I've watched both versions multiple times. Like I said, it's one of my favorite movies. It's really, I feel like the black and white version is a little bit more impactful than the colored version, just because the scenes I feel like the scenes give it's a lot more life in the scenes in the black and white version than it is in the color version. I feel like the colored version doesn't do, no pun intended, by the way. I feel like the colored version doesn't do the film justice. I think they obviously, you know, updating it and kind of getting with the times. You know, you want to just add a little bit of color to the film, but the black and white is just perfect. It's just perfect. Like there was a scene, one of my favorite scenes is right when Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea, because Judith O'Dea is the first to make it to the house. No, I think Carl Hardman's character, he was the first. He's already in the house in the basement at this point, but he doesn't, his character, his scene and his group of people don't get shown until halfway through the film. So I think Judith O'Dea's character is the first to make it to the house, and then Dwayne Jones' character comes after that. So for a good little while, it's just those two trying to, you know, survive in the house pretty much. And, you know, it's like I said, it's that funny scene where Dwayne Jones is trying to snap Judith O'Dea's character out of, you know, he's trying to get her to snap out of it because she's just hysterical. She's just kind of like, just, you know, stuck and frozen out of fear. And, you know, he's trying to tell you like, hey, you know, I know you're scared, but we still got work to do. We got to secure this house and, you know, blase. And, you know, they kind of got to work together to get what they need to do, what they need to do pretty much, and survive the night. So like I said, man, it's definitely one of the first films to, you know, feature the term zombie in the way that George Romero portrayed zombies. Now, zombies, like the term had already been established by this point, but as far as the feasting for brains, flesh-eating zombie monsters, like that wasn't a thing until George Romero released this movie. It wasn't known, it wasn't that popular until George Romero put his hands on it. And I really feel like he pretty much gave birth to millions and millions upon great movies in the zombie culture. Like I said, the 8 movies that I named on this list, they don't exist without Night of the Living Dead. Like I said, there's a reason why I put this as my number 1, because like I said, I'm a firm believer of you can't get to point B without getting to point A. You know what I'm saying? You got to get to point A before you get to point B. So like I said, without Night of the Living Dead, like we just don't have we don't have a zombie culture, period. I feel like we don't have one. So shout out to George Romero and this fantastic movie that he dropped well before my time. I'm glad I was able to discover it at a young age and, you know, be able to understand the impact that he made on the culture and the generation that George Romero birthed as far as these directors and the style of movies that they make. So I definitely want to give that movie its flowers, and there's a reason why it's my number 1. So yeah, man, like I definitely feel like this is a list that, you know, I don't know how y'all feel about my list. Like I said, like there might be people that are even deeper into zombie culture than I am. If y'all have movies that y'all have seen that I haven't seen, that I haven't listed on here, let me know in the comments, man. Like I said, it's my favorite movie genre. I'm definitely open to watching more movies that I haven't seen before, and I know there's 10 to 15. I wanted to make this list about 20 to 30, but like I said, I mean, y'all would be here all day if I tried to do that. So I definitely wanted to kind of condense my list and kind of get some suggestions and get some critiques. So y'all let me know what kind of movies that y'all feeling as far as the zombie culture goes, man. Just give me some movies that y'all have seen that y'all, you know, that y'all think I might like, and you know, I'm open to all suggestions and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this video for y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed being here. Like I said, this channel is still fresh, this channel is still new. We still got a lot more things I'm planning on bringing out. So yeah, just bear with me, man, and we will be with y'all on the next time. So this was my wrap up to kind of like the Halloween season or whatnot. So as we roll into this Christmas season, I do want to do another list of my favorite Christmas movies. So that will be one that I'll bring out as well. And hell, maybe I even do the 25 days of Christmas, and maybe I can drop a movie every day, a movie review every day. Who knows? So like I said, Thank y'all for being here, man, and be on the lookout for the next video. I hope y'all have a great weekend, a great day. I hope y'all have a great Halloween season, and I hope y'all have a great Christmas season that's coming up. So until next time, we will see y'all on the next time, man. Standing, man. We'll see y'all soon. Thank y'all.